Wyoming. That's a brief look at news of our community. More of the same right after this.
There's no way to measure the value of an examination by your doctor, because it isn't just the work he does at that particular time. It's also the years spent in acquiring knowledge and his knowing what to do and what you benefit from. As with your doctor, so it is with your pharmacist, who also brings you years of study and experience as a part of every prescription he dispenses. Bring the prescriptions your doctor writes to Lawson Walgreen Drug, or phone them. When you consider the professional knowledge that goes into the compounding of medicine, you'll find the cost is truly economical. What can you name that's more to be desired than good health? Keep your good health by having your prescriptions filled with the experience and the know-how at Lawson Walgreen Drug at the corner of Church and Commercial in downtown Trinidad. You'll find the cost is truly economical.
Popular, well-known singer and musician Glenn Yarborough brings his college tour to the Trinidad State Junior College campus for a Sunday evening performance on February 1st. Yarborough will appear in concert at 8 p.m. in Sebastiani Gym in a 2-hour presentation. Sebastiani Gym is located at the corner of Church and Anima Streets, across from the Trinidad City Hall. All college students will be admitted free upon presentation of a winter quarter validated student activity card. All other students may purchase tickets for $2 per person. General admission is $3 per person and tickets sold at the door. The musical group accompanying Yarborough includes pianist Fred Ramirez, drummer Don Dexter, and Ted Arnold on the bass. The Yarborough College Roadshow features folk, modern pop tunes, and light rock music. The soft-spoken 40-year-old Milwaukee, Wisconsin-born musician is the father of 2 children and a replanted Californian. His music has been described as the music of love, the music of affection, and the music of warmth. Yarborough describes himself as singing anything that has a message, at least anyway to me. Rod McEwen's work has always had depth and realism in things personal and emotional. That's why I do many of his songs. I've more recently become interested in the young contemporary composers. Phil Ox, Mason Williams, Hoyt Axton, and Peter Boyd. These composers are producing the kind of lyric that has real meaning in today's world. Yarborough feels Boyd is a young composer who will someday rank among the greats of the contemporary writers. Some of the musical talents that might be displayed in Yarborough's accompaniment are composed of combined aspects similar to Simon and Garfunkel, or with the Smothers Brothers' approach to music. The show promises to be unique because these days singers are supposed to be stars first and vocalists second. When glamour and a good gimmick generally count for a better cash return than talent, Glenn Yarborough is clearly an anachronism. Other news on the Trinidad Report this afternoon. And for this Monday afternoon, that's a look at news of Trinidad and our community. Brought to you by the Lawson Walgreen Drug Store of Trinidad each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoon.
Lawson Walgreen Drug always brings you the newest of every product. And for you ladies, brand new from Tussie, the Lip Riot of Colors. Now, there's all shades in this riot, and it's a riot of a price at 2 for $1. So you ladies had better stock up on this right now. Then, brand new by Tony, the Magic Moments Foam In Hair Color. The first fun, one-step way to cover gray or brighten dull, fading hair. $2.50 at Lawson Walgreen Drug. Remember, that's by Tony, Magic Moments Foam In Hair Color. The easy way to cover up gray. And that's by Tony at $2.50 at Lawson Walgreen Drug, always bringing you the newest of everything on the market. Why not shop and save the Lawson way at Lawson Walgreen Drug at the corner of Church and Commercial, downtown Trinidad.
This has been Trinidad Report, a look at the most recent news developments in the city of Trinidad and surrounding communities. You heard it first on KCRT.
Men in action wear Red Wing shoes for comfort all day long. Red Wing shoes are available in Trinidad at Merson's Shoe Store. Red Wing shoes are lightweight, rugged, and alive with comfort. Red Wing's Irish Setter is a real Red Wing with oil-tanned, oral russet 6-inch uppers, traction tread wedge crepe soles, nailless construction, and waterproof leather counters. For work or for sport, Red Wing's Irish Setter is America's finest. Try them today at Trinidad's headquarters for the complete line of Red Wing shoes, Merson's Shoe Store, 133 North Commercial. For other outdoor activity, you'll like the Red Wing Chukka boots, crafted for comfort and performance. The Chukka boot feature the flexible split leather insole that absorbs moisture, keeping your feet fresh and dry. Come to Merson's Shoe Store for any of the famous Red Wing shoes.
Now, this Intermountain Network station presents your daily livestock market report, direct from the United States Department of Agriculture Livestock Exchange Building in Denver. In a moment, Cletus Schmergy and today's report.
Today's Denver Livestock Report brought to you through the courtesy of Marty Feeds Incorporated at 328 Mill Street here in Trinidad. High energy cubes are here. As you know, the people at Marty Feeds Incorporated are constantly striving to keep abreast of new concepts in nutrition and feed formulation. They are now offering their high-energy range cubes with a fat guarantee of 4%. This means that when you purchase a ton of B&M fortified range cubes, you are buying the finest. A cube fortified with phosphorus, trace minerals, vitamins A and D, plus the addition of fat. So for the maximum in energy, contact the folks at Marty Feeds Incorporated, where their feed is as good as the best and better than the rest. Marty Feeds Incorporated here in Trinidad at 328 Mill Street. For more information, call 63376.
At the Livestock Exchange feeder cattle auction in Brush on Friday, the sale volume was 4,643 head. Feeder steers fully steady, feeder heifers uneven, steady on weights under 650, 50 to 75 lower on the heavier weight heifers. Steer calves were 50 cents to $1 higher, instances $2 higher. Heifer calves strong to 50 higher, but in instances $1.25 higher. Choice 700 to 800 pound feeder steers brought 31.90 to 33.30. 600 to 690 pound feeder heifers at 29.25 to 31.30. Choice steer calves weighing 415 to 470 pounds brought 37.75 to 39. Heifer calves in the choice grade 400 to 490 pounds at 33.25 to $36. At the Torrington Livestock Commission Company sale on Friday, the volume was 1,650 head.
Two organizations here in Trinidad. KCRT Merle Sedin has this news story.
Trinidad State Nursing Home held a luncheon yesterday honoring two local organizations. The two organizations were the Gray Ladies and the Federation of Women's Clubs. Mr. Bill McFetridge, supervisor of the nursing home, stated that the nursing home needed the continued interest of the Gray Ladies and of the City Federation of Women's Clubs, and that they have been getting this.
And now candidate for Councilman at Large, Dr. James Donnelly.
Good morning, and thank you very much. It seems to be a little bit early in the morning, ladies and gentlemen, to be here trying to talk to you people. And of course, I don't know how many of you will be listening. But if you don't hear it, ask somebody maybe who will hear it. This will be my last time to talk, I'm sure of that, because the opposition has purchased all of the main time tonight. You know, there used to be a time in my life in politics when I thought, boy, you've got to get the last lick in. It's kind of like boxing. Be sure you give that guy the last punch before the round ends. Well, I don't think that's necessary. I just don't think you have to do that, especially when you bring it out and give it to the people as you should, and I have been trying to do since I've been here. Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Friday night. Now, I've listened to all the things that have gone on, and I'm certain of one thing, that you people are as confused about some things as I am, especially the things the opposition brings up. Mostly the thing that they bring up about me is to vilify me. I'm the big bad man of Trinidad. I'm the villain. Well, I'll tell you, they've called me everything from dictator to everything else. That's fine to call me that, just as long as you remember what was done for the city. and what the people are going to get out of it in the future. You know, I listened to this broadcast the other afternoon, Saturday afternoon, and Mr. Lovato and Mr. Thurston were on here, and these people were so confused about what type of government they are helping try to run down at that city hall. I really understand now why these two people didn't know what has been going on at the city hall. I was really surprised, kind of shocked, really, to say the truth, to hear these two men talk about what's going on at the city hall and how we got a one-man rule. Nobody can have a one-man rule, because the people, you have to convince people that are with you that you are doing right. Plus, don't worry, they've got a few ideas of their own too that they chip in. A lot of them. Taken for granted, no one man can run a city council. I've never attempted to do so, nor will I now. Whether I win or lose, it doesn't make any difference that much. But I will say this, I've been in this for about 22 years, and I think I know a little bit about how the government is run at the City Hall. And I certainly know from what Mr. Thurston and Mr. Lovato had to say that they don't even know the rudiments, yet they're all for everything. Well, that's fine for them to be for everything, but the first thing you have to learn something about the government. You know, Mr. Lovato's been down there 6 years. Mr. Thurston's been down there 4 years. That's a total of 10 years between the two. And yet, when somebody asks them the question, now tell us, how is somebody, what happens when you run at large? The only thing that happens when, in the city of Trinidad, you've got 3 wards, 2 people running in each ward, which amounts to 6, and you've got running at large. The one who runs at large has to be voted on by everybody. Essentially, under the law, he's the one who does take care of all the people in the city as a ward. Now, this has never meant that he becomes mayor. Never was that. Whoever started that idea is off on the noggin upstairs. Because I'm going to tell you, the first time I was mayor of Trinidad in late 47 and 48 and 49, I was elected from the 1st ward because I used to live where my office is. That's the first time I ran. I was elected mayor from there. So there's nothing to say about who's the... But I think these two people, the first thing they ought to do before they start talking about we don't want a mayor and we can do away with a mayor and we don't want a mayor, this is what the two were saying. It's been misused. It hasn't been misused at all. It hasn't been misused at all. I'm sorry Mr. Thurston doesn't understand what's going on, but I can really see now, as I said before, how come these two people are so confused at those council meetings. Now maybe you people understand why I have tried to get some kind of a caucus meeting going ahead of these meetings so that these two people could understand what the story is. I go around to the others and tell them I wouldn't dare try to tell those two anything. I wouldn't even attempt it. But I'm going to tell you about this. The second meeting we had of this last council, we were walking out of the hallway after the meeting, and I said, wouldn't you like to have some coffee, Thurston? I've tried to treat this man like a gentleman. There are times at that meeting that I could have chopped him up from that chair, but I didn't do it. A couple of times I sort of got on him, because you can't go on forever and ever and ever with the kind of talk that nobody understands or knows about. But I'll tell you, we went to coffee, Mr. Dusart, Mr. Thurston, and myself. That's when Ronnie Sanders had a little restaurant over there by the junior college, across from that laundromat. We went in there and sat down, and we were talking, and this is, mind you, this is after the second meeting. He said, well, he said, I don't think I can go on too much more with this, because I said, what do you mean by that, Thurston? Well, he handed me a piece of paper. I read the paper, and I said, you don't want this. The people have elected you. Now, I don't know what your problems are, Thurston, but get in and let's try to help you. Nobody's going to walk on you. Nobody's going to step on you. We'll try to help you. So when you try to help a man, you can't help him and you tear up his resignation that he gave to me. He gave me the resignation, and I didn't take it. I tore it up and threw it away. I didn't know this man was that unhappy that far back. And I didn't know that this man was studying like he said he's been studying, because he hasn't been studying. If he's been studying, he's in a lot of trouble for himself, because it takes a lot of knowledge to be in here. It takes a lot of knowledge to be on that council. It takes more knowledge than just to say no. There are times that I felt sorry for Mr. Thurston about that no vote, because I don't know whether he really knew what he was doing or not. Not that he wasn't mentally static. He was all right, emotionally stable, but I don't know whether he knew actually what was going on or not. But at any rate, I want those two to understand what the law is under city manager form of government. And what I have here is the organization of the manager form of the second-class cities, which is Trinidad, Chapter 139-5-7, 1963 Colorado Revised Statutes, Volume 7, page 186. And it says here, the chairman mayor duties. Quote, at the first meeting of the council following every regular municipal election, the council shall choose by a majority vote for a term of 2 years one of its members as chairman, who shall have the title of mayor. I guess Mr. Thurston couldn't understand this if he read it. And certainly that school teacher should be able to understand this. And I'm surprised a school teacher getting on the radio talking about something like this when he hasn't even looked it up. Well, he's been there a long time, 6 years. Of course, I've always said the big mistake that ever happened was when I went to Colorado State Senate and they gave me a set of law books. I've tried to keep up. And I don't think you ought to talk about the law and what this should be or that should be unless you go look at the law. And if I don't know, there are a lot of lawyers in Trinidad. Then it says, and shall also choose a vice chairman who shall act as mayor pro tem. The mayor shall preside at the meetings of the council and shall exercise such other powers and perform such other duties as are or may be conferred and imposed upon him by this article on the ordinances by the city. Now, this gives me a lot of power that I've never even tried to use. But I sign contracts. I do a lot of things. And this is the responsibility of the mayor. They think all a man is supposed to do is come down and be a chairman of a meeting. Well, I'm going to tell you, if this all that was entailed in this, it'd be easy. Wouldn't really be real easy because those meetings aren't always easy. I've tried to make them a little easy, and I haven't walked on too many people. But I'm going to tell you, when you're chairman down there, with people like this on the council, you've got your hands full trying to keep the meeting going in line. And I'll tell you something else. The newspaper man said it isn't legal for Dr. Donnelly, who's mayor, to get out of that chair and go down and sit there and make motions. Well, I'm going to read the rest of the law to him. This is what it says now. The mayor shall have all the powers, rights, and privileges of a council member. That means I can go down and sit as a council member. I can take myself out of the chair, put the mayor pro tem in, and go down and sit there and make motions. Now, I think this should be clear. He should be recognized the head of the city government for all ceremonial purposes, by the courts for serving civil processes, and by the government for purposes of military law. Now, do you think that isn't a little bit of power that could be used wrongly? Nobody's done it. I've been mayor 4 times, and I haven't used it wrongly. In case of a vacancy in the office of the mayor, the council shall choose his successor for the unexpired term. That is the end of the quotation, and that is the law. Where have you been for 10 years, you two? What law do you really go by? Mr. Thurston, if you don't need a mayor, why did you nominate yourself for mayor in January 1968? You said it's a pompous thing. Well, I'm going to tell you, Mr. Thurston, If you think being mayor of Trinidad's a pompous thing, get it out of your head. Because the people in Trinidad don't really want a mayor. I've always said that. They don't want a mayor. Which is all right by me. All I want to do is get the work done. And we've been doing the work. Well, anyway, facts are facts. 10 years combined for these two people, and they haven't even known what law they've been working under. You have to kind of feel sorry for people like that, really. When they act that way, yet they run around and talk about how great they are and how they're for the poor man. Well, neither one were for poor men. One got a good SBA loan, $115,000. I don't see any of the rest of the Spanish-speaking people getting a loan like that. But I'm glad he got it. I'm glad he's in business. But I don't want him walking the poor people because he got a $115,000 loan. Doesn't give him the privilege to say that the poor man doesn't have a right to have a toilet. I had some little kids the other day, Saturday, distributing pamphlets of mine. And they said, you know, we're for you, Dr. Donnelly, because our father told us that we're going to have a toilet inside now, since this sewer's coming. The sewer's coming whether I'm elected or not. And I said, that's right, you're going to have sewer. Says, boy, you know how keen it is. I don't have to hold it in the morning now. Well, why don't you people start feeling sorry for a few of these poor people in this town? We got some poor people. Got a lot of poor people. But they're good, faithful people. And they're people that have been trying and working hard to get ahead. Nobody can help them. When we say this and that and the other about it, it's nice to walk around and act like you're for somebody. Well, mister, the actions speak louder than words. The actions speak louder than words. Well, it's enough for... I don't think that they really did too much the other day, but I think they should have had this pointed out to them. They didn't know the law, and they didn't... And now, just as I said before, now I realize what a difficult time they've been having down there, trying to find out what's been going on. Isn't that a shame? I'm not vilifying anybody. I'm going to tell you something. When you get up and start getting rough with other people, then you better close your own door first. Don't start calling me a dictator. Don't start vilifying me until you know that your own house is clean. Don't do that. Don't do it for the sake of the people of Trinidad. Well, I listened to Mr. Steig last night on the radio. I listened to all the other candidates. And it was brought out again by Mr. Steele, who was so gentlemanly to be their master ceremonies and keep bringing up things for them. I didn't know that radio station people are supposed to get in the middle of the politics, but he has been for quite a while. And the other man that owns this station, he's in the middle, has been for quite a while. We all know this. The only reason we get time here is they're afraid not to give it to us. The only reason I don't make a lot of trouble tonight, because they've got the time tied up this afternoon, they've got it tied up tonight from 5:40 to 7:30, and then the president speaks. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to try to outdo the president of the United States. I'm not about to try it. But I'd like to know how come these people, they tell me since the 2nd of September they've had this time. I think all I have to do is call up the FCC, and I think we could do something about that. But I'm going to tell you something. I think I've gotten the message to you people without all that. So if they get on this afternoon and vilify me, you'll know that I have no right to come back and answer them. If I haven't answered up till now, then let them have at it. But if you people hear these things, and tonight, you probably say, what a bum I am. Well, maybe I'm a bum. I'll tell you what, I'm a Trinidad bum. Got born and reared here. Got my education here. It isn't really too good, but it's good enough to get along. But vilification is going to be the answer the rest of the way. And I'll tell you why. Because not one of these people has said one thing that they're going to do to better this community. Not one thing. Has anybody on the Big Seven said anything about it? The only thing they're interested in is a hospital. So I'm going to tell you what I said the other night on the radio, Friday night before that ball game that wasn't that beautiful. We won 14-13. What a tough ball game. But anyway, I felt good because I was hot enough to go over and help those kids do it. I didn't play any, and maybe I said a little encouraging word once in a while, but I'm not the coach. The coach got them going, but his teaching goes along. Those kids won, but they beat a tough team. Yeah, I'm so happy for those kids anyway. And by the way, while I'm at it right now this has nothing to do with politics. We're talking a little bit about football. But night before last, I was able to talk to Presbyterian Hospital, to room 316, where Robert Sandoval is there as a patient. He used to play center for Trinidad High School football team. He's a policeman. He was a policeman in Denver. He was shot by some man in Denver right through the head with a .38. Well, I talked to Bob, and he was so happy to know that the people in Trinidad were glad that this guy was actually getting better. He was so happy. He said, look, communications are open to me all the time. Well, we called him Rachi in the old days. And you know, the brain's pretty good. We talked about a lot of the things that went on when he played football here. A great kid. So a few people have a chance. You write to Robert Sandoval, room 316, Presbyterian Hospital, Denver, Colorado. Now, I didn't tell you about this to bring out the weeping or anything else, but this was one of our kids. This was one of our kids, one of the kids we trained. I say we, that means all of us. Well, to get off of that, I listened to Mr. Steig last night, those other candidates. I haven't heard anything, any of them say that they had anything they're coming up with except a hospital. Well, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We need a hospital. We need a new hospital. But I doubt very much if this organization they have is capable of cutting it. I want Mr. Steig and those people that were at that meeting on the 5th of December, 1968, to know one thing. I got up and got out of the race for a hospital because they said they had the money, and for no other reason. Because I didn't want to have the debt of $1.2 million or $1,300,000 on my back if somebody else would do it. Well, I stepped out gracefully, and I meant it, and I was sincere. But we'll go into all of that, because I'm going to talk about what Mr. Steig had to say. Now, Mr. Steig gave you a chronology of this hospital thing. I told you I wasn't going to talk about it, but I can't help it. Gave you all the truth, the chronology about it, except there's a couple things he left out. He said there were letters, contract letters, between me and them and me. This is correct. And these people were going to give me 6 months, and I'm the guy that set the time. I said, I think I can come up with this money in 6 months. I think, well, I've gone that far along. I'm on the 14th year. So leave me alone, let me try it anyway. So that's when the county commissioners took their request out. When these letters said that nobody was going to do anything except help the first guy the first 6 months. Well, I want to tell you, Mr. Steig, you made one mistake. You never ever did give me any help. None of those people did. As a matter of fact, they started passing petitions in June when my time limit was supposed to be up in September. September the 12th, 1968. In June. And you know what? These people, somebody out there's talking. I can't understand what's going on. I think they can go in some back room somewhere and talk. I think when I pay for the time, got the privilege of doing this without these people standing up here talking and yakking in front of me through a glass window. Get your mind off what you're trying to say. Anyway, the contracts were there. These contracts were abrogated and enforced by Mr. Steig and your people. The petitions were passed. You said you didn't know about them. You had to know about them because you were picked as chairman of this thing in June. So it had to be before September. Now, why didn't you come to me, Mr. Steig, with some kind of a communication or just tell me, look, Donnelly, we don't want you to have a hospital, so save your time and your money. If you intended to go out and thwart all of my efforts, cost me a lot of money, plus a lot of time. You could have done that. If you'd had the decency, you could have done that. Plus, you could have told the commissioners, wait, we better hold off. But I'm going to give you the answer why you didn't do that, Mr. Steig. You and your people. Because under no condition or no reason did you people want me to have a hospital, and I'll tell you why. Because I met with Mr. Harnish, the man you talked about at the Southwest Presbyterian, down in Mr. Clyde Don's office, one night. And I said, if these people out at this hospital want to get out of town so badly, why don't they turn that hospital over to the city of Trinidad? Oh, he said, never could do that with you, Mayor. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I can't be mayor forever, and if I'm never anymore, it's still all right. I'm still a citizen. And I don't think those nuns who turned this town into a turmoil, and that's who did it. The truth of the matter is, they brought in the union doctors. The union brought them in. The hospital accepted them. The medical society did not accept them. And what happened? The medical society people were booted out. The union doctors stayed. The nuns turned the entire town over to these other doctors. It's still that way now, and unless something is done otherwise, always will be. Let's face the truth. And when the man said, Miss Harnish said, the nuns will never let you have the hospital, I wasn't asking for the hospital. I am not asking for any hospital now, so get that out of your heads. I only say one thing. If you people don't have the money, and it's going to take some money to run this too, if you don't have it, then get out of the picture and let the city do it. I would hate, for example, to try to go out and build a utility on my own. I was trying to get a hospital for the people of this town, not for me. I couldn't be all the doctors. They knew that. And when those doctors got up on that stage over at the high school, they didn't tell the truth. They didn't tell the truth. They knew, and you people knew, Mr. Steig. State Board of Health said, had already told me and you alike, that any doctor who has a license can come there as long as there's federal medicine, federal money involved in this hospital. So I don't think you've been quite slick with everybody down the line. You knew that this scheme was to knock me out. You people put up a set-up meeting up there. Now, you know it was a set-up meeting. That's all right. It's over and beyond anything else. But when you got up and said you had the money, but you didn't bring this out last night, Mr. Steig, you said that the reason was because you had a better plan. Now, that's a lot of malarkey, Mr. Steig. You didn't have a better plan than I had. You couldn't have had a better plan in 2 or 3 months than I had in 14 years. You know that I'm not that ignorant. You know that. You didn't mention one time that the reason that I got up and said, look, if these people have got the money, let them have it. Told the chairman. Denholm's dead now. I said, Bob, give them the money. They've got their money. Well, Mr. Steig, you didn't have your money then. You haven't had it since, and you don't have it now. You said last night on there, it's hard to borrow money. Well, I'm glad you found out how difficult this job was. And I'm going to be honest and truthful with you. This job's it's above and beyond you people. It's above and beyond you. It'll break all of you. You're in a business that you don't have any business being in. But that's your business if you want to get in it. But I'm going to tell you something. I did a study on hospitals while I was in the Senate. Now, the United States Senate is just now starting one. I think I was way ahead of them, don't you? On the high cost of medical care in hospitals. The high cost of medical care in the United States. United States Senate is now getting into it. Well, it's a pathetic thing when they break people. I mean, if you people think you're going to sell bonds with a 10% interest, and that's about what it is now, 9 or 10%, and you're going to pay this off in 20 or 25 years, then I don't know anybody in Trinidad can afford to go to this hospital you're talking about. I think you people should think this over. And for the goodwill and the good things of this town, I think you people better think twice. Now, you people have talked hospital, 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 and that's all you've talked. Let's talk about a few other things we have to get in this town. What good is a new hospital if the people are moving out? You know, I told you the other night, people are moving. There are no jobs here. There are no jobs for people to pay these rates. Not the city. County's going to take this on. They've got a big job. I don't know who's going to take it on. But I'll tell you what, it's bigger than you people are. You got me out of something that I'm so happy I could jump up and down with joy. With joy, because I'll tell you why. It was too big for me. I think I'm as smart as any of the people you got. Not too sharp, but I think I'm as sharp as that. I just don't think this thing was done right. I think there was misrepresentation all the way down the line. All the way. And I'll tell you something else. My stuff was just about ready to go. Then you knew that I already had $58,000 assigned to me from Hilberton money. Just like you do now, $200,000. You haven't got it, but it's assigned to you. It's assigned to you. But I'm going to tell you, when you go out and get your money to match that money, that's a real trick. And you found it out, haven't you? This is a tough deal. It's a tough one. But we got to do something in this town for people. We've got to do something for them. Now, some of you people, including you, Mr. Steig, have accused me of keeping doctors out of Trinidad. Nothing could be further from the truth. Why don't you talk to those people who work at the hospital? Why didn't you come up and say to the Colorado State Medical Society, Dr. Donnelly, keeping dentists out of Trinidad would have been just as reasonable. There were only 3 dentists here until Dr. died the other day. Now there are 2. Why don't you sign a letter that I'm keeping dentists out? There used to be a lot of lawyers here. Now there's 6. Why don't you get up and say that I stopped this too? And that's what my argument with Mr. Eads was over. He had no business signing any letter like that. Because Mr. Eads doesn't know what he's talking about. He had nothing to do with schools, but yet the school teachers are willing to jump right on the bandwagon and say, we're glad, Mr. Eads, that you stood up to Dr. Donnelly. Well, Mr. Eads, just don't do it anymore like this. Don't bite me when I'm not looking. Just don't do it. You tried to get me in a lot of trouble. With my license, you tried to get me in a lot of trouble. The Colorado State Medical Society, that's all settled now. That's all settled. But I had to go there and appear there and listen to the lies you people told down here. You spent a whole day of lies, and those doctors told me you did. They said, you've got a pathetic town. You've got a bunch of sick people, mentally ill people that came up there to that courthouse to complain about you. And they finally told you, well, if you hate him so much, why don't you buy him out and tell him get out of town? Well, I don't have that much to sell. I'll sell my house, though, and go. But I want to see some of you people take my place and do the things I've done. You people who signed that paper, you people who are too ignorant to understand what you're signing. But we'll come to that later in the courthouse. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You don't go around talking about people without knowing what you're doing. Mr. Eads was trying to save himself. That school board meeting by bringing up something that had nothing to do with education. What's a medical practice got to do with education? I want to know that. To vilify me. To make me look bad in front of that newspaper with Chamberlain sitting over there writing it. Well, it hit the paper, didn't it? I don't think any of you people in Trinidad would appreciate this. I don't think you'd appreciate it. As a matter of fact, I know most of you'd kick somebody's teeth out. You just don't do those things. There's a little bit of manliness about most people, except some of these people there's none. Well, anyway, Governor Love called me up there one day to go to a meeting, and they had a lot of people and a few doctors. And they're talking about a 19-county hospital at Pueblo. That's why they're trying to hold you off, tell you not to build such a big hospital, because they're going to have another University of Colorado hospital in Pueblo. It's already there. It's built. I think the time has come for big hospitals in towns like Trinidad is over. The specialized care in medicine now is too difficult to pay for in a town like Trinidad. And don't let anybody kid you any differently. Plus the fact that there is no money here and the good doctors are not coming here, nor will the good doctors any more than the good lawyers. New good young lawyers not going to come to Trinidad. They're going to go where the money is. I'll bet you can't go out and get a dentist that easy. Well, our poor friend the dentist died. I haven't seen anybody take his place yet. Maybe there's somebody working on it, I don't know. I'm going to tell you something. Most people can't afford to pay for the kind of hospitalization you're talking about. So you people, I'm telling you again, you think twice before you get in the middle of a hospital, because it's going to be a big black bear on your back. And I think it's up to the people of this town to decide the size of the hospital. And I'm going to tell you something else. A lot of people you said over there didn't want me to have a hospital. Well, there's a lot of people in this town don't want these people to have a hospital either. And I don't think you'll ever be successful, Mr. Steig. You're correct. Until all the people decide this is correct. You're going to have to satisfy all the people by all the people having a voice in it. But your deal was no different than mine. You said I wanted to make a fortune. No, I don't want to make any fortune. I wanted a hospital. I'm going to tell you something. You've got all that hard work to do. You people are going to find out what it is. You're going to find out you got the biggest black bear on your back that God ever created. If it was too tough for those nuns that got hundreds of millions, too tough for you people without any millions. You better think twice. You better think about it. Medicine's going to be more specialized every day. The doctors are not going to come to these little towns. If I were a young man now, I wouldn't come to Trinidad. I came here because this was my home, and I'll tell you something else. There's bacon on the table here. And the guy could get started. But a young man can't afford it. A young man can't afford to come to a place like this now. But you think it's easy to go get these doctors? Well, we'll all go together. We'll all go together, and we'll all go together to get a hospital. But I think that you should not tell the people not having the money. Mr. Steig, you said that your plan was better. That's why that happened that night over there. It happened that night over there because you said you had the money. And it's in the paper of December the 6th, 1968. I don't have to read it to you. But the president of this bank down here jumped up and said he's got $1,600,000 interim finance money. And don't worry, we'll get the rest of the money. You seem to think you can get $1 million now. Well, why don't you go out and try to get $1 million? All of you people together can't go get the $1 million unless you're going to pay through the nose for it. And when you pay through the nose, then the poor people have got to pay through the nose here. So better you keep the hospital you got now a little while till things settle down a little, I'd say. Of course, this is your business, but it becomes my business too because I live here. And I'll tell you, I'm 57 and a half now, coming up the 10th. And by the time you'd build a hospital, I think I'd be too old to go to it anyway. So why don't you people quit worrying about Donnelly wanting a hospital now? You know what? I've been like that doctor that goes with that guy on the TV, you know, in the old Western. I've been working out of my office like a poor little old... Well, I don't know. At least I've been doing a good job in my mind. And in the mind of the State Medical Society, I've been doing a good job. So I don't know any reason why people should complain about me. I've done a lot of hard work here. Going to continue to do some hard work until I just can't work anymore, I guess. But I don't think the people have been given the truth. Now, Mr. Steig said last night, well, he went back to Cincinnati. Well, that's fine. And they started at $700,000. He says, I think we got down around $300,000. What do you mean around $300,000? Mr. Steig, do you intend to come in this council and help run it and not know what the price is going to be? You don't really mean that. Somebody told me the other day they got 10 people working in an office out there. I don't know anything about that hospital. Now, that sounds a little preposterous to me, but they say you got a lot of employees that you don't need. Well, I don't know. But if you do, somebody better cut to the bone. But I'm not going to tell you how to run it because I don't know. I don't want to do it. Nothing to do with it. But I know you did give up your money to La Junta. They were a Class B. We were a Class A. Priority. You gave it up to them. They already had $636,000 Hilberton money, so you gave me the other $732,000. Now you don't even know if you're going to get any or not. But you probably will. But just remember, even if you got it for free, you got a load on your back. It takes a lot of money to run one. And it takes a lot of doctors. And you're never going to have doctors out here until you change those bylaws. Mr. Harnish told me that. Was in my house with Reverend Willits. He invited me to come over there. I said, no, not until those bylaws are changed. Mr. Harnish admitted these bylaws should be changed. But nobody could change them now because the hospital is still owned by the nuns. Money hasn't been paid off on it. And the nuns left these bylaws with those instructions. Now, this is what he told me in my home. And I had another 2 people there to listen to this. So I'm not going off half-cocked telling you something that isn't. Well, anyway, it's enough of that. We do need a hospital. But if you people aren't going to be able to hack it, stand up and tell the people the truth. Don't continue misrepresenting. You had the money then on the 5th of December. Excuse me, you didn't have the money. You didn't have the money at all. You thought that was a smart trick. Well, it was. I'm telling you something. God takes care of the stupid like me. Took care of me that night. Got me off of the hook. To go out and borrow $1,300,000 and come up with a payment in 25, 30 years is a big job in Trinidad. It's a big job. I'm glad you people are realizing what it is. You thought all you had to do, why, nothing to it. Just go out and sell a few bonds and it's all over. Well, I know you got a letter that says the bondholders can be double exempt. I know that. But who wants to take the chance on the loan on a hospital? What do they do with the hospital if they have to take it? You got to understand that people that are going to put money in something got to say, well, look, it was tough enough to get money for this water system and sewer system. Even with $1,060,000 plus another $200,000 government money thrown in. It was tough to get the $1.5 million for a school. So I don't think you people are really understanding or realizing. So don't. If you're doing this just to say, well, we got to do it because Donnelly wants to do it, I don't want to do it. I don't want the city to build it. I don't want anybody to build it. Unless they can certainly show that they can financially take care of it. Now, the only people left that I know can take care of it are the city. The only ones I know can take care of city people. But I'm going to tell you something. This have to come to a vote. No other way, boy, would this be done. But you, if you're a businessman, and you went back to Cincinnati, and you paid about $300,000, I don't care whether it's about or 125. That's what you said last night. I can only go by what you said. $300,000, about $300,000, for a condemned piece of property. Something wrong with you people. Something wrong with these big, fine citizens you said signed a note. I'd like to know what you do with that building if the state said you can't run a hospital here anymore. I'd like to know what you do with it. I kind of think that the nuns wrapped you if they charged you anything. Because these people made a lot of money here during their day. But I'll tell you what, when they leave for a reason. Because this is a Catholic community. And if anybody should have stayed here, it should have been the nuns. And I'm going to tell you something, there are a lot of wonderful nuns, just like we got a lot of good school teachers. But there were some bad ones. There were some bad ones. Unfortunate. But this is life. Just be fair to the people of Trinidad and tell them the truth. Don't give us a long talk and say this and that and the other and something else when it isn't actually the truth. You said you had the money then. You told the state board up there you'd have the money. You'd be ready to build. Well, nobody's ready to build. Now you said last night, don't know if you're going to build a hospital or not because maybe the people don't want it. Well, I think you're right. Maybe the people don't want it. Some do. I'm going to tell you, there's always somebody who wants something for nothing. But you better think about that a couple of times, too. Well, it's enough of this. I think you people understand the situation. And I'll tell you what. I think no matter what is said from here on, or before I even talk today, the people that are going to be elected, I think it was decided already. I don't know who's going to be elected, but I think it was already decided. I don't think I'm changing anybody now. Except I ought to change you to think about building a hospital, unless you got the money to keep it running. It's like buying an airplane. The original cost of the airplane is nothing. It's the upkeep. It's the upkeep of the airplane. The upkeep of it. Just like a hospital, it's the upkeep. And things are going so fast now that I think new ideas ought to be looked at. I think people ought to think twice before think about what they do. Well, anyway, what I said the other night on the radio, Friday night, must have been true. I know it's true. Because Mr. Eads got in this same radio, and what did he say? He said, I'm for vocational education. And he came back, when they talked to him later, he said, yes, I'm for vocational education. But I think we ought to have the little building at the high school and the big building at the college. Well, let's talk about how much that big building in the college is going to cost school district number 1. To start, be about $350 a person. If we got 100 kids over there, it's $35,000. Well, I think the high school can run their own vocational education. And I don't think we have to mix up kids. Mr. Steig said the other afternoon radio, Saturday evening, this is a sore spot to Donnie. Yes, it's a sore spot. I don't want these kids kicked around. I don't want them sent here. I don't want them sent anywhere else. I want them to stay right there in the high school where they belong. This is where they belong. They don't belong at a college until they are really finely trained so that they can go ahead with this $2 million worth of equipment he talked about and be further trained and really specialized. Now, if you think we've got big problems in furnishing this, I think we'll find the money and I think we'll find the material. As a matter of fact, we may be able to find all the material going to the vocational education school for nothing. I think we have ways of doing this, and we will. But there was a deal. And I'm going to tell you people something else I never did tell anybody on this radio who was going to be chief of police. Last night you said, well, we've been told. Now, wait a minute. I went over that record, and I said exactly what I intended to say and thought I said. The stories around town have it Now, don't misconstrue what I'm saying about stores around town. I'm going to tell Mr. Davis something. Stores around town want to know how come you're taking property off the tax roll, putting your houses on and not paying any tax for them. Now, you got a lot of units here without tax. Yet you have the audacity, your college, to write to this city and complain about the price of power. Mr. Davis, the people mostly in the city of Trinidad plus the rest of the county built that college. They built it with our money. We built it with our money. The only reason these people were able to pay a little bit more tax is because we had some utilities to pick up somewhere where we couldn't handle it. So let's get off of that bandwagon of racking our power plant. Because, Mr. Davis, I'll never allow it. Whether I'm elected or not elected. I want you to know that. Send a letter to everybody except me. You better see to it that your college people in Denver write to me as long as I'm mayor. I'm no big dog, but I know about that power plant. Nobody's going to walk on it. This is ours. And I want a good college just as much as you do, Mr. Eads. Probably a little bit more. Because I struggle for mine. But the people want to know about that fancy house you live in, too. 4-inch roofing, double tongue, double groove, split shake shingles, copper all the way around the gutters and the downspouts. None of the rest of us have got copper. Nobody's got copper. I paid for my home. Worked like a dog to do it, Mr. Davis. But I got the word from Denver that your salary's between $20,000 and $26,000 a year, plus expense account, plus a free automobile, plus a free home, better than anybody else got in town, plus furniture, better than anybody else got in town, and some insurance, and traveling money. Mr. Davis, you do better than the governor. So I think you ought to stay out of politics unless you want to run for governor. And don't make that college up there a political institution. Just don't do it, because we're going to stop with some of this stuff now. But I think it's time that the people in this town get together and start to breach these things instead of have people like you continuing to hit with an axe. That's what you've been doing, Mr. Davis, a long time. But you got caught up with. You finally found somebody that had intestinal fortitude enough to get up and tell you. So you're a public servant, just like I am here. And I can be criticized and you can be criticized. And I shall intend to criticize, win or lose. And if I lose, I'll probably be a little worse, because I'll be a taxpayer with a little more want to know about it. You know, when you're trying to get things for a city, and you're a taxpayer, and you're in a position, you go ahead and do it anyway, whether it costs you or not. But when you're not in, and you think somebody else is doing wrong, well, you get a little rougher about it. You're a little rougher about it. You've got a lot of fine teachers up there. You've got a good college. Let's keep you in that college, and let's keep you seeing that that college gets better. But let's leave our high school alone. Let's quit playing with our high school kids. Let's quit making deals on hospitals. Now, if all of us get together, maybe we can get some kind of a hospital. I don't care who owns it. I don't care where the money comes from. But I think it takes all of us. Quit communicating with people like me that have been through the mill. Now, you people came down to city council, said you had the money for a hospital. We told you we'd meet with you the next morning, go over all of your papers. You people didn't have the money, and you know that. That's why you didn't get any of this money. Model city money in the first year action, and you know this to be true. Now, you tell the people this. That's the reason you didn't get any first year money, because there was no use to give you money that you couldn't spend. The only thing you could have spent it for was to buy this old hospital out here. Well, that isn't what it's supposed to be for. If you bought this one, then you pay for it. If you paid a premium for a condemned building, then you go ahead and pay the fiddler. I think it's about time that I say something about other things. You know, I have in my office hanging up a little thing that one of the drug men gave me, and it said this. It says this: children learn what they live. If a child lives with criticism, he learns to condemn. Excuse me. If a child lives with hostility, he learns to fight. If a child lives with ridicule, he learns to be shy. If a child lives with shame, he learns to feel guilty. If a child lives with tolerance, he learns to be patient. If a child lives with encouragement, he learns confidence. If a child lives with praise, he learns to appreciate. If a child lives with fairness, he learns justice. If a child lives with security, he learns to have faith. If a child lives with approval, he learns to like himself. If a child lives with acceptance and friendship, he learns to find love in the world. Oh, can't some of we people in Trinidad follow after this and at least see that our kids get a little bit of this? God knows they hear enough at home. They hear enough at home. Undoubtedly, they hear too much at home. But I think that's a pretty good saying. I think there's a lot of truth in this, and I think it's time that people in Trinidad start to do this. Somebody told me that there won't be any changes in the city. Mr. Thurston has already told Mr. Shaddy, who's a fine man, came from the schools on a temporary loan basis to help in this model city, told Mr. Griffin, if I win on Tuesday, you're gone. Well, they told him, if you win on Tuesday, we'll quit anyway. But you people are trying to sit back and tell me that the Azars aren't going to get in the middle of this battle? They're sitting back there waiting. That's what they're doing. They're sitting back there waiting. Two lawyers to walk into the middle and take all over everything. Don't give me this stuff. I know those Azars. I know them. And you people all meet at their den down there. You meet at the Ramada. Mr. Reeds is one of you. Mr. Dalton's another one of you. I'm going to tell you about the thing. The thing's here. And the thing is big. The thing is so big, the teachers even want to get in the act. They said that the last school election, a lot of it depended on the fact that teachers have been not well treated. Well, I'm going to tell you again. The teachers have never been ill-treated in this. This is a National Education Association deal to try to show everybody the teachers are being walked on. And when we get to it, I'll prove it. And I'll prove it right now if I have to. They are only reiterating what other people have said. We don't need this. We got a tough enough time teaching our kids without starting a big riot business. We just don't need it. But I don't think the teachers have any right standing up and saying who to elect in this. I don't think it's any of their business. But they've been well treated. I sat down the other night and showed you about the salaries. In 1953, I was on the board with their retirement. With their retirement pay and their salaries, they had $255,000, 1953. And they've steadily gone up the hill all the way. To 1970, they'll have $818,000 in round numbers instead of $255,000. Now, have you people, businessmen, done this? Taxes are getting tougher to get here in this town. People are getting tougher. But from $255,000 to $818,000 without a riot, I think they've done pretty well. And I was part of this, all but 4 years of it. For 12 years, I was part of it. For another 2, I was part of it. Now I'm on the 3rd. So I'm on my 15th year. And I've always listened to the school teachers. So has everybody else. So don't you believe these people. Don't believe them. I'm going to tell you one other thing. I understand they got a pretty good, tough program coming this afternoon. It's going to vilify me. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Or tonight. Now, if this can change your minds about what kind of a man I am, then I think this kind of programs I ought to have. I'm going to tell you, if you think I'll barter your kids, you vote no on me. Because I'm not going to barter the kids. And the big fat deal was on, and I'm going to prove it. Furthermore, these people who got on here already said it was, but I've got this one last thing to say. The power of faith. This is by Howard Brody. Abraham Lincoln was strengthened by his faith. He believed. The will of God prevails. Without him, all human reliance is vain. Without the assistance of that divine being, I cannot succeed. Without assistance, I cannot fail. Being a humble instrument in the hands of our Heavenly Father, I desire that all of my works and acts may be according to his will, and that it may be so. I give thanks to the Almighty and seek his aid. I have a solemn oath registered in heaven to finish the work I am in full view of my responsibility to my God, with malice toward none, with charity toward all, with firmness in the right as God gives me to see the right. Thank you very much. Good luck tomorrow.
The preceding a paid political broadcast. Mr. Stagg, at a public meeting last December 5th in the high school auditorium, it was stated that the Hospital Association had adequate financing available to match the Hill-Burton commitment and to fully finance the construction of the new hospital. What happened to this adequate financing? Do you still have the Hill-Burton grant, or did you release the $800,000 to the new hospital in La Junta? If so, can the Hospital Association regain this money, or are these funds permanently frozen by the Bureau of the Budget? The preceding paid for by the Citizens for a Better Trinidad. This is KCRT 1240 on your dial in Trinidad. It's 12 noon, time now for Paul Harvey News, presented Monday through Friday by First National Bank in Trinidad. Mr. Harvey in just one moment. There's nothing like having money in the bank, money of your own that's safe, secure, and always available in a savings account. Open a savings account at the First National Bank in Trinidad, add to it systematically, and see how you can face the future with confidence. See the First National Bank about their higher-yielding certificate of deposit. Money left in for 6 months or a year will earn you even more interest. And remember that if you open a new savings account at the First National for $25 or more, or add $25 or more to your present savings account, you receive a beautiful bonus of a 4-piece place setting of gold silverware free. So if you aren't enjoying all the things that come with regular savings, start saving now at the First National Bank here in Trinidad. Open with a $25 or more, or add $25 or more to your present account, and get that 4-piece place setting of gold flatware free. Also, ask about high-yielding certificates of deposit. Now, here is Paul Harvey, already in progress.
Car's trunk